Police officers from Boynton Beach, Florida are being investigated after 2 cell phone videos emerged showing 2 kids getting harassed by them. Now, it's important to mention that there are still very few details on this story. The only thing that we know is that the 10-year-old and the 11th-year-old were being very, difficult on a bus. They were a disturbance, and as a result, the cops were called to the scene, which is ridiculous if you ask me. I would assume that adults would know how to handle a 10-year-old and 11-year-old, but nonetheless, officers showed up to the scene and they proceeded to handcuff them. Now, what you're about to see is a video that was taken by a student that was on the bus. Pay close attention to what happens and I'll give you some more details.
David, get out the hair because David will take off.
No, he got Kevin's in a chokehold.
David, y'all sweet.
Kevin know what he's doing, bro. Kevin know he's not going nowhere. That's why he's doing it.
Kevin said, fuck you. Kevin said, fuck you, go straight up. I heard outside a little
Yeah, I saw him.
Boom!
They can't do that. Y'all need to get
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, you recorded it. I recorded that. I recorded that. I got that shit. That's Christmas Club.
So you can hear some of the students in the background saying that he's cursing at the officer, so I'm sure that he was mouthing off to the cop. But at that point, he was already handcuffed, and he wasn't any threat to the police officer, and he kind of kicks his leg. In fact, according to WPBF, which is a local news source in the area, the boys were reportedly pulled off the school bus for some minor behavioral issues when police arrived. One boy was initially handcuffed and sat on the ground while police handcuffed the second student. The first video, the student standing with the officer on the left of screen, is allegedly roughly detained. So one of the cops has been placed on administrative leave. He's being investigated, and the police department is saying, hey, you know what we see in the videos right now are disturbing, and so we want to look into it further, but no complaints have been filed yet, so who knows what's going to end up happening with that cop.
Yeah, you mean no complaints from the community?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess we cover a lot of stories like this week after week, and it ranks, I guess, sort of low in terms of how, brutally brutal the police are. Nobody died, thankfully, but you do expect that when they're dealing with children that they'll be a little bit gentler, I suppose. I mean, they're 10 and 11-year-old kids. They're not going to, fight back. Yeah, they were mouthing off. I did some light research to see how many cops get killed by mouthing off every year, and the number's very low.
Really?
So they'd be fine. But at the same time, and this does not in any way excuse what the police did, I'm getting really sick of I like that people have the cell phones and they record, what they see and everything. It lets us know. I'm not going to say anything about vertical film. That's not what I'm saying. But then, you get to see that what the cops are dealing with is not just the 10 and 11-year-old kid, but a crowd of 6 to 15 people all antagonizing and instigating violence with the police.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I love the fact that people film the cops as they're doing something questionable. I think that as public servants, as people that are getting paid through our tax dollars, they should be held accountable for their actions. But you don't want to instigate and make the situation worse than it already is. So just don't do that. Now, in this case, you're dealing with 10 and 11-year-olds, right? So you shouldn't be expecting a high level of maturity from them anyway. But as police officers, as cops, people who are supposed to be trained, you should handle kids in a different way. I mean, kicking him in his leg so he falls to the ground is not the appropriate way of handling the situation.
Yeah. I mean, recently, just a couple of weeks ago on TYT, we covered this drunk, boisterous frat boy or something like that, and he was handcuffed behind his back, and a cop came up and grabbed him face to face around the throat, and you could see in the cop's big bloated neck how hard he was squeezing his throat. He was already he couldn't move. He was handcuffed. I mean, we should have higher expectations. I mean, I would say if I was a 10 or 11-year-old kid and I was handcuffed by the police, I would be just mortified and like a statue. But we have to expect that the kids aren't going to treat the police with respect until they're raised in an environment where the police are deserving of respect and respect them back.
Yeah, I think that there is, a lack of trust for the police, and that's a totally understandable way for people to feel. But I also wonder what exactly it was that the kids did, and we don't know this yet, okay? Details might emerge after we cover this story, but we don't know what the kids did on the bus. And it must have been really, really bad if the cops had to get involved and handcuff them. So it better have been an issue of violence. It better have been an issue where someone was being hurt. If it's not, I mean, because the issue that I'm seeing now more and more is that we're putting police officers on campuses, students are getting detained, arrested, prosecuted for minor nonviolent offenses, and it really leads to a bigger issue that we're having in society, something known as the school to prison pipeline, right? Where we start criminalizing kids for doing something because they're a little rambunctious. And that's disgusting because of course, private facilities make money off of that, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for these kids where they think, oh, well, I'm treated like a criminal, I must be a criminal.
Yeah, and especially when we don't do it just across the entire country to all socioeconomic groups, all racial groups, we selectively make it worse to commit crimes if you're of a specific skin color or if you make your family makes a certain amount of money every year.
Well,
exactly.
Understanding that it's from the kid's point of view, but I saw a report about, and he talked about what he did. He said he was on the bus. He has asthma. Someone sprayed some cologne or perfume and he couldn't breathe. He's like, I got asthma, I can't do this. So he put the window down. The bus driver said, put the window up. He goes, I don't care what you're saying, I'm putting the window down because this cologne is getting in my air. He said he was having problems breathing. Then she kicked he and the other kid off the bus for defying her. So it was apparently, and again, from his point of view, it's based off putting the window down when she told him not to.
Okay, so that's according to what the kid said.